Penn State 21, Illinois 7. That's Sean Fitz, Nate Bauer, and I'm Greg Pickel from Blue White Illustrated. Penn State, Sean, was a 19.5-point favorite on the closing line in this game. Didn't cover. They came close if they would have returned the last strip sack from Abdul Carter for a touchdown, but did not cover, made it harder on themselves than it had to be, but ultimately they're 4-0.
That's a good point. I mean, I often say it's very hard to win football games, but when you make it harder on yourself, that's not a great thing. So Penn State did that, penalties, just timely lapses and things like that, and I think that it's stuff that can be cleaned up, but it's also, you're 4 games into that schedule. You're going to hit the meat of it a little bit. You're going to go on the road to USC in 2 weeks, so that's stuff they definitely got to clean up because it has become a sort of a chain of events. You asked last week after the Kent State game about penalties, and James Franklin said he's going to hold people accountable and fix it, and so far, it just hasn't happened.
No. Nate, obviously the Penn State running game is one of the things in focus tonight. The running backs were both very good. We know you love talking about running backs. And even more impressively is that Penn State did what it did on the ground, sans Sal Wormley. He left the game early, did not return, and then J.B. Nelson late. They had to bring freshman Cooper Cousins in. Impressive night on the ground all around.
Yeah, the injuries that's still a thing.
Yep.
That's still a thing. But no, look, you saw what I thought was interesting is Illinois really kind of dictated the terms of the style of game that was played. And it's not that Penn State didn't know that that's what was going to happen, right? James Franklin spent the whole week talking about it, ball control and running the ball and, time of possession, those kinds of things that Illinois likes to do. Penn State largely shut those things down, right? They shut down Illinois' offense in the second half, particularly running the ball. But obviously there were some holes, I would say, in the first half defensively that eventually translated into, hey, go to the run offensively. If you're Penn State and you are going to play Illinois' game, just do what they do, but do it better. And it kind of reminded me of Iowa last year a little bit, right? Just run the ball, right? I mean, James Franklin even said in the post game, about, and this will fire everyone up from the meddling crowd in the post game about how he likes to remind his offensive coordinators, hey, running the ball is working, right? Just you do that. And Nick Singleton did that. Katron Allen did that. It was violent. They injured people, and they ended up winning the game because of it.
Yeah. Sean, going over to the defense, are you more impressed by this being the second half, or I guess third of the year now, where Penn State did not allow any points, but Bowling Green and this week, certainly a different team from the first half to the second half on defense?
I mean, it was almost a carbon copy of the Bowling Green game with the first drive coming down. Man, that's a scripted drive, and they executed it pretty well. Yeah. Penn State was able to adjust, got the stop at the end of the second quarter, which was absolutely massive for them. They got, you get a bad snap, which is fortunate bounce. But you knock them back, they get a penalty, they miss the field goal, and all of a sudden you're feeling okay about yourself. Nobody wanted to beat 7-7 going into halftime, but at the same time, given the alternative, it was pretty good. So I think they buckled down. I think just like against Bowling Green, very basic, very vanilla, and almost like Penn State felt that they could overwhelm the opposition with the guys that they had out there. Didn't really play out that way as Tom Allen changed some things up in the second half, got some more pressure. Abdul Carter was fantastic. Yeah. Zane Durant was fantastic. Zane Durant.
Wonder who said that. Wonder who predicted that. I don't know. No idea. Yep.
Zane Durant had a ridiculous matchup because watching that Illinois-Nebraska game, that was one of the worst guard tapes I've ever seen. So he came through and almost had the game he could have because he left some out there in the field. But no, it was nice to see Jalen Reed get in there. You see him as a blitzer. You see what kind of difference he can make. And Altmaier made some pretty good plays. But in between that, Penn State was really hassling them. If you look at the game plan, the issue with tonight, 21-7, I would say underperforming expectations there. Right. But at the same time, everything that we thought Illinois would do, they did. Everything that we thought Penn State would do, they did. It just did not finish. Right. That was a big issue for them on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, outside that first drive, they did some pretty nice things. There's a lot to be gained from this because you can see the holes. You can try and plug the holes. The injuries are not something where you can plug the holes. Right. But you have an opportunity to use that in conference play against some of the better teams that you're going to face, which Illinois is tough, always tough, because Brett Bielema coaches a certain style. As Nate said, they drug them right down to that game. That was an Iowa-type game. It was. Penn State responded, turned it in kind. Third quarter came back, didn't play didn't play specifically well in the second quarter, but they turned that middle eight into an advantage for them, got the lead in the third quarter, and as you saw, that was the game plan. Get Illinois behind, get after the quarterback, and they harassed Altmaier at the end. He threw a pick, should have been pick six. Right. He threw a pick. He gave up the sack fumble at the end. So, Penn State did round into form eventually. I think it's really interesting to see where the bar is for this defense, because they've been so good for a couple of years. And not just giving up a couple touchdowns here and there, but Penn State fans panicking after one touchdown because of how good this defense has been. Right. I don't think they're on that level this year, and they can do some really nice things against some good teams, but they're going to have to. It's going to have to be more collective effort.
Nate, I feel like me asking you about the special teams would be like asking Sean about the running backs, but you're concerned about Sanders Sahadak. To make it quick, and no, I'm just kidding, but then we'll let Sean chime in on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good for Penn State. I think that it not only is it not good for Penn State from the Sanders Sahadak side of this, but to go for that fourth down when there were points to take a 2-possession lead. What does that say about Ryan Barker, right? What does that say about Chase Meyer, which is a name I know and was gonna say. Right? What does that say about them? What does that say about their confidence? I think it does put them in a hole to not have that piece of the puzzle there, right? I mean, it changes how you do things, and I think there's a solid argument to be made that so much of this game, they're going to leave this game and fans are going to be happy that Penn State won, but maybe a little bit soured on the way that it was won. But there were so many instances of Penn State not living up to what it could have been offensively, scoring points, right? Even some of the decisions that were made, right? The 4th and 1 at the 42. Yes. On Penn State's side of the field, right? If that's Michigan or Ohio State in a past life, James Franklin goes for that, right? Because you bring that aggressive style to the field. So now special teams are a thing that Penn State is going to have to get resolved. But look, these are the guys that you got. Right. You got to see, right? I mean, right. you got to trot a field goal kicker out there at some point again this season, and I don't think it's coincidental that James Franklin, after the game, talking about effectively Sanders Sahadak should be able to celebrate the win just like everybody else. Right. It's that psychology side of things of, okay, look, you don't need to kick this guy anymore. Like he's down. He couldn't get any more down than this. So lifting him up is probably the only reasonable play that they have, and they're gonna have to see where it lands them.
Sean, as our special teams expert, thoughts on just the whole situation and where Penn State goes from here?
Very uneven right now, and that's kind of concerning because it's the finishers that are not coming through. Sahadak, I mean, I think he's what three of 8 or 3 of 9 in his career.
In his career, he's 3 of 9. Yeah,
that's not ideal. No. I mean, the field goal kickers have gotten much better. That's not even close. Right. So you look at Ryan Barker, you look at Meyer, see what they can do. Barker came in and kicked the PAT there at the end. Riley Thompson was really good. Yeah. Tyler Duzansky's snapping was good. The holding was good. Just the finishing was not there. Gabe Nwosu was good as well. He had a bunch of touchbacks tonight. So there's elements of something that's okay there, but when you're looking at the finishing, you're looking at the kicker. Right. He's not making picks. Yep. You're looking at the punt returner who's back there just to return punts. That was not a good game for Caden Saunders. Right. So it's tough to look at the special teams as a whole body, and the head is not performing there. Right. So I think that's what you're looking at with those guys. I say some of it can be fixed. Right. I don't know that. I mean, Sahadak 3 of 9, and you look at him out there before he's making those kicks. Right. He did not look like a confident guy. He's got all the leg in the world. He hits them in warm-ups. He does a lot of great things until he gets on the field, right. And that's mental, and that's most of being a college kicker.
Right. Nate, final thoughts as we move into the October portion of the schedule. Penn State sitting at 4-0, with Ole Miss losing, probably likely to move up at least one spot in the AP poll and the coaches poll tomorrow, despite winning by 14 tonight.
Yeah, obviously none of that stuff matters. Right? It's just Penn State stays on schedule, and it's a plus and a minus, right? Because I do think the aura, the halo around Andy Kotelnicki is maybe dulled slightly from this performance. Yeah. There just wasn't a whole lot that Penn State fans are going to be excited about it. But also, to prove that you can do it in different ways is not a bad thing, right? If you have to adjust what your plan is and just run the ball down their throats and do it effectively, that's okay too. I just think, there were quite a few plays that hung in the balance in either direction that Penn State both made and didn't make. Which is weird to say, but Nick Singleton in the second half to open the third quarter, that catch, right, with the block and to run over a guy on the sideline to pick up that first down. I mean, honestly, they're not getting points out of that possession otherwise. But also at the same time, to come up with a few fourth down tries that came up empty. I don't know. I leave this game thinking, yeah, Penn State won the game. That's good for Penn State to have done that. But also, they're going to be looking back at this as what is the identity moving forward? Because I saw a very confident team last week that I'm not sure I saw the same of this week. So that's it.
Final thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, it's one of those, how many times can they get away with it, And you can get away with it against Illinois, Bowling Green, and things like that. And I think the potential is there to turn that corner, but when you do things like you have so much variation in the play calling, when you're taking Tyler Warren snaps, you're taking Bo Prabula snaps and things like that, you're getting Drew kind of out of a rhythm, which the bar has been raised on Drew, and I think that's a good thing. So looking at tonight, he wasn't as sharp as he typically was. He wasn't bad. He didn't throw an interception or anything like that. But you're looking at a team that just absolutely mauled. You never want to judge offensive line play off the start, but this is as good as it looked in real time. They just mauled Illinois and then kind of got away from it. It's hey, get back to the stuff that works. Get the points on the board. If you want to work on some other stuff, that can happen down the road when you get Illinois behind, when you get the pass rush going, when you get some turnovers and things like that, instead of having to sweat it out. It's just get a little too close.
Yeah. No question. Join Blue White Illustrated for 50% off an annual subscription by using promo code WEARE. The final 24 hours of that flash sale is here. Guys, Sean Fitz, Nate Bauer will be back next